Right, from real-life political drama to real-life Hollywood drama. Johnny Depp versus his ex-wife, Amber Heard. Johnny is suing Amber for defamation after she wrote an article describing herself as a victim of domestic abuse. And while she didn't name him specifically, Johnny claims it's cost him lucrative acting roles. Now, cameras are in court, and you can watch every twist and turn live. And you've been watching quite a lot of it, Nadia, haven't you?
Well, I was. At the beginning, I watched a lot of it, and actually then I became uncomfortable, I became quite sad. Mark, on the other hand, has one headphone in, and whatever he's normally doing, he's listening to every single bit. Yeah, and then he does a live every night on YouTube, and the numbers are building and building because everybody is going over in detail everything that's happened. Now, it is utterly fascinating, of course it is. I mean, Johnny Depp, though we know a lot about him, all the really private stuff, like they're being asked things like, you know, what happens on the private island? Oh, him and Amber would come and they would drink wine and they would eat and they would sing and they would dance on the beach and all this sort of stuff you're hearing. So you've got this window into this celebrity life. But the reason I became more and more uncomfortable with it, with watching it, was I also feel they're two, in my opinion, two very damaged people in very different ways, and I'm really uncomfortable with hearing psychiatrists report on what their conditions are. For me, that's a private thing, where somebody chooses or not to have that shared. So I would hate it if we had the same thing here, public courts. I just think, because we'd be so tempted to watch, even if you felt uncomfortable.
You mean televised?
What did I say?
Public.
Oh, televised,
you can go in as a member.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant, televised, yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting because celebrities' lives, private lives, usually are so protected, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, as you say, it's this window into this... And, you know, you always think that their lives are so perfect, and then you listen and you think, oh, actually, that doesn't sound too great at all. I don't understand the point of televising a court case. Who is the winner? The only winner, really, is the television company that
broadcasting,
that can sell adverts off the back of it or whatever it is that they do. You know, you've reported a lot of court cases, as have I. And as journalists, what we actually do, what we put out into the public domain from sitting in the case is quite sanitised. I mean, you give the impression of what's at stake, but the detail, so say something like the James Bulger case or the Rose West trial, you don't put out the detail, because who wants that inside their head? And I know with this,
How does it affect you, then, when you have to listen to everything and then decide?
It's awful. And actually, it's funny you say about being becoming sort of desensitised. The Rose West trial in particular, I remember, because my daughter was very young, and I remember listening to and not sleeping and really kind of going, oh, my God, I'm so scared about the whole world and da-da-da-da. And eventually, you almost stop listening because it becomes, that again.
And again, that's one of the reasons why these big top cases become dramas, because then they can pick and choose the bits that are entertaining, that are interesting. It's a good filter to be able to tell the story. I don't want to be watching... You know, it's like Big Brother. You know, I'm just literally watching them doing everything they would say in a court trial. That's why I watch the news, to get the bullet points, the headlines, the facts.
Because it's very tempting to listen and look, but then you're left with the trauma. You can't unsee things, you can't unhear things.
Yeah, and I mean, when Amber Heard had her trial here, one of our wonderful reporters on ITV News is retired now, Juliet Bremner. You know, we would sit gripped listening to Juliet sort of sum up what had happened that day in court. You know, and she'd have all the drama, she was so passionate about telling that story because it was just such an insight, as you talk about.
And the balance.
Yeah, but she would have the balance, she would do it in a very calm and measured way, and she'd cherry-pick the little bits of information that the public would find most interesting without going into sort of psychiatric reports and that kind of stuff, because that is very personal.
So do they have a choice whether that's televised or not?
So here, the law changed in 2020. So you've always been able to have cameras in the Supreme Court here, but in Crown Courts in England and Wales, the law changed in 2020, so they can film the judges summing up, but they can't film anything else in court. So
I think we should
anyone giving evidence, the jurors, for example, the lawyers, the barristers, can't do that. And in Scotland, they have been able to do it since, I think, 92, but they don't use it very often. But the reality is I know that journalists get a rough ride a lot of the time, but we do protect the audience a lot from stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if if Jane were to have spoken about everything that she heard in court in the Rose West trial, it would traumatise the nation.
But because this isn't murder and it is such a nuanced subject, it's like defamation and it's, you know, too big
Become like
names.
a soap opera where everyone's trying to work out what's really going on between them.
And I think if for a generation that wouldn't normally watch court trials are fascinated, if there's a light bulb moment for anybody sitting at home, you know, teenagers that may recognise what coercive control is, because it's, again, it's a very sort of
But like you said earlier,
area.
I think the place for that is drama. It's good drama, good soap. You know, when the soaps cover something like domestic violence, coercive control, anything like that, it really gets people grip. I think it's taking advantage of people that are in a vulnerable state. Having said that, I listened to a radio show the other day where there were so many men ringing up that had been in coercive control.
But you know what? You watched it, and therefore that will drive other people to put other court cases.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I don't watch it now.
But I think we have our rules here for a reason, and they work for the moment. I think they do work for the moment.